14 days to deploy a configuration change, 4 development teams, 25 applications, and everyone convinced this was normal. I inherited a system where coordination took longer than development. Manual processes that should have been automated years ago. Teams operating in complete isolation while claiming they collaborated. If your teams spent more time in coordination meetings than writing code, you are exactly where I was. I'm Yanis, solution architect working on national scale government systems. I spent 6 months implementing enterprise architecture frameworks at Dutch and Water Management Agency, managing a transformation of 4 teams from chaos to systematic coordination. And here's what is at stake. Without systematic coordination, your development velocity dies under administrative overhead. Teams burn out managing process instead of building solutions. By the end of this video, you will know how to apply enterprise architecture frameworks selectively to eliminate this coordination chaos without creating a bureaucratic overhead. The situation was textbook dysfunction disguised as normal operations. 4 teams, bi-weekly releases, platform team bottlenecking everything. Every deployment required manual coordination across multiple teams. If you are a developer, you recognize the frustration of waiting for platform approval. If you are an architect, you recognize the impossible position of being responsible for coordination without authority. If you are a manager, you recognize the resource waste of talented people managing process overhead. The problem was not technical competence. Individual teams were skilled. The platform team knew their domain, but coordination required manual intervention for everything. Same transformation, multiple conversations happening in parallel. Business stakeholders wanted faster delivery. Development teams wanted autonomy. Platform team wanted stability. Everyone was right, and everyone was frustrated. But here's where it gets interesting. The problem was not coordination complexity. The problem was coordination without systematic approach. I call this the translation rule. Architecture documents exist to translate between stakeholders, not to impress with technical depth. Think about tuning a guitar. Each string must be tuned individually, but all strings must work together to create the music. If you tune each string perfectly but ignore how they interact with each other, you get noise instead of harmony. Everything changed when I realized frameworks are coordination tools, not compliance requirements. DOGOF provides systematic approach to enterprise coordination, but implementation must adapt to organizational reality. 4 phases became our navigation map. Phase A for vision alignment, Phase B and C for business and information system coordination, Phase D for technology architecture, and Phase E for implementation planning. If you are an architect, this looks like project structure with built-in stakeholder management. In practice, each phase forces different conversations with different people about actually the same solution and transformation. That leads to the practical question: how do you actually implement enterprise architecture without creating more bureaucracy than value? Current state analysis revealed the coordination nightmare. Teams waited for platform approval. Platform team became bottleneck for everything. Manual processes everywhere because nobody had authority to establish a systematic approach. Picture a Formula One pit crew arguing about which tire to change while the car burns the fuel. Individual expertise exists, but no coordination mechanism enables that expertise to function effectively. Target state vision was autonomous teams with systematic coordination. Teams deploy independently. Platform team provides services instead of approvals. Coordination happens through contracts, not standards, not manual intervention. If you are a manager, those outcomes translate directly to development velocity and team satisfaction. Implementation principles connected current chaos to target coordination. Establish decision boundaries, create translation documents, apply a framework selectively based on organizational pain points. TOGAF gives us systematic approach to stakeholder conversations. Architecture visualization gave us shared understanding. The combination worked because framework provides structure, while visualization provides clarity. TOGAF alone would have been academic. Visualization alone would have lacked systematic implementation approach. The breakthrough element was selective application instead of comprehensive compliance. If you want to apply systematic architecture coordination in your situation, you can start very small. Document 1 cross-team interface with formal contract. Establish one decision boundary between teams. Create one translation document for stakeholder alignment. That is enough to start without any fancy frameworks. But implementation reality was messy as in framework theory suggested. Week 2 of the pilot program, 9 p.m. calls because Team A could not navigate the self-service process we had established. I questioned whether autonomous team approach was fundamentally flawed. Teams struggled with ownership boundaries. Platform team resisted service model. Stakeholders wondered why coordination was getting harder instead of actually getting easier. The deeper learning that changed how I think about enterprise architecture entirely was this. Transformation requires allowing failure within safe boundaries, like parent-college-student dynamic. Initial struggles are learning, not system failure. By week 3, Team A figured it out. Week 4, they helped Team B. Week 6, the boss team deployed more frequently than before without platform team intervention. 12 months later, the numbers told the story. Lead time dropped from 14 days to same-day deployment. Deployment frequency increased from bi-weekly releases to daily on-demand deployments. 85% of service deployed without platform team intervention. Team outcomes exceeded technical metrics. Team transitioned from resistance to advocacy. Platform team evolved from bottleneck to enablement team. Coordination overhead transformed into systematic collaboration. Remember the translation rule. Architecture frameworks succeed when they translate between stakeholder perspectives, not when they enforce compliance with theoretical models. At first, I thought perfect framework implementation would solve coordination problems. I was wrong. Organizational buy-in matters more than theoretical correctness. And honestly, 6 months of documentation that nobody used taught me the humility about the gap between certification knowledge and implementation reality. And here's your next step. Think of one cross-team interface you own or influence that is your personal translation rule challenge. Tomorrow, document whether that interface has formal contract, API specification, versioning policy, change process, 15 minutes maximum. You will know it works when you can explain the interface to someone outside your team without referring the tribal knowledge. Comment with one cross-team interface you own and whether it currently has documented contract. I'm Yanis, sharing experience from national-scale government systems. Your coordination challenges are unique, but systematic approaches to enterprise architecture remain remarkably consistent. Take what works for you and leave what does not.